What's up, everyone? My name is Tyler. You are watching Mom's Basement MMA, and today I'm speaking with an undefeated middleweight contender. He trains out of Dante Rivera BJJ, New Jersey, and you can catch his next fight at CFFC 134, where he'll be taking on Brandon Holmes. Nick Galanti joins me today. Nick, welcome to the program. Glad we could link up and wanting to do this with you for a little while, so I'm glad our schedules could align and we could do this, my man.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate you having me. It's been a long time waiting.
Yes, sir. Well, we are getting it done. CFFC 134. You and a couple other guys that you know are going to be competing on this card. You have a lot of people at Dante's that are in camp right now. Can you tell me a little bit about that? Not just people that are fighting on the CFFC card, but other promotions as well throughout New Jersey. Like, how is Dante's right now? Like, is camp crazy? And do you benefit from having you and all your guys in camp at the same time?
100%. So obviously, majority of my work I go with is being Luke. So it's nice whenever we're in camp, because if I'm in camp and he's not, he gets a little bit too big for me. So when we're both coming down, we can keep going gradually. And we've been with each other so much that me and him are so competitive, we never want to lose a round or a grappling exchange. But at the same time, we care for each other. We're not trying to hurt each other. We're not trying to build any egos. We're just trying to get good work all the way around. Then you have Eric Nolan, who I'll go with time to time. It's actually my roommate, but we're a little bit different size. And you have Jerry Leshy, Nick Caracappa is fighting. There's some rumors that Darwin and Cheeto are making their pro debut along with Nez in the near future. So the energy is definitely high at Dante's, and I give a lot of credit to him managing 40 fighters. We're a lot. I know we're very needy. So the fact that he could do it as one person, he has all my respect.
Nick, when I think about you, I think about a guy who competed as an amateur for a few years, and you just turned pro in December of last year at CFFC 128 was when you made your professional debut. And I was hoping I could ask you a little bit about that. How did you know that 6 AMI fights was enough for you? And can you tell me a little bit, like, what went into the decision-making process to make that leap into going pro?
So I feel like, honestly, on the regional scene, Arias did such a good job. I guess he's too good at his job, where I just got fed dog after dog after dog. I don't have the most polished amateur record. I was only 4-2, which a lot of people look at and they're like, it's okay. But I fought 6-0 guys. I fought everyone that was offered at that point. So I definitely had the experience. I think there was like 3 or 4 fights where I was like within 2 weeks of fighting, and it just got canceled. So I might have 6 amateur fights, but I had 10 or 11 camps leading up to it. So I feel like experience-wise, and like when I first started with CFFC, I was only 22 years old. So like I never fought, I never wrestled, I played football. So it was just a growing experience for me. I feel like I really started to mature as a fighter. And once I turned pro, something switched in my head where I was like, all right, I could do this. I'm along with the pro guys.
What advice would you give to an amateur fighter that's kind of like on the fence and thinking about like, am I ready for this or not? Like, do you have any tips? Do you have any advice to anyone that is maybe further along in their amateur career that's maybe thinking about fighting at your level one day?
Just don't try and rush it, man. You get so much experience from every fight, win, lose, or draw. Test yourself as an amateur, gain the experience, gain the knowledge, move on from there. If you think you're ready, go ahead, take the leap. But once you turn pro, there's no going back. And there's such a difference in level between when you're 0-0 and you go 1-0, and then you're 2-0, and then it's just a giant gap every fight in talent from your previous competitor. So just take your time, bro. Enjoy the journey. Don't just focus on the end goal. Mature as a fighter as long as with your skills.
Nick, you're also a regular on the Fury Pro Grappling circuit. Yeah. I've seen you compete. You got a win over Phil Rowe, and then you also grappled against Kyle Hughes that ended in a draw. Can you talk to me a little bit about that? Like, Fury Pro Grappling, like, what has that experience been like? I know it's not an MMA question per se, but do you enjoy competing in the grappling circuit, and how does that impact you as an MMA fighter?
So I just like competing, man. My whole life I've been a competitor. If it was football, or that's really the only sport I did, but I just like the thrill of competing. I like the self-doubt that you have to talk yourself out of. I think everything, if it's a grappling match or it's a fight, you never want to lose. You don't want to give up an inch. And it's just more fun. You don't have those pre-fight nerves. You have a little bit of nerves going to grappling, but you're not like scared. You're just excited to be able to have fun in grappling. You know you're not getting punched in the face. You're not going to get embarrassed. So it's just fun to stay active, keeps you in shape. And I don't know, it's just fun all around.
2024, you've already competed once this year. That was back at CFFC 131, where you fought Russ Korbul. He's a guy that's from your area, a New Jersey guy. That's probably a guy that you've seen at events before. Can you tell me a little bit, like, what was that experience like fighting Russ? He's a tough guy. And to fight a guy like that, who's a lot older than you, who was undefeated at the time, Q, walk me through, like, how did that matchup come together and what do you remember from that fight?
I think I originally had a fight booked before that. I don't know if I'm allowed to say the name or not. And obviously, I don't know if it was contract negotiations. I got the contract signed it 2 days later. They told me he doesn't want to fight. So when we're just looking, I was saying yes to everyone. Honestly, probably saying yes to people I probably shouldn't have, not being the smartest fight. But that didn't go through, and Russ was just the name that came across the table. And I knew he was very experienced in the grappling. Everyone thought I was just a grappler. So I thought it was a really fun opportunity to be able to show my hands. And I went for the kill every time, but Russ is so tough. I think I dropped him multiple times. Every time I dropped him, he was in on a single. I was like, this kid just doesn't die.
Nick, we have a relatively quick turnaround for you. You last competed in April. Now here we are in August. So only 4 months. And I was hoping I could ask you, like, what has changed the most about your game, your evolution as a fighter from April now through August?
Obviously, skills keep getting better. Like I was saying before Dante rudely interrupted us with a phone call. Constant repetition carries conviction, and that's where my confidence comes from my work ethic. But I really stepped into the role of being a pro fighter. I matured as a person and as a fighter, like I was telling you. I started fighting for CFFC at 22. I was still a young kid. I was still working in New York as a union concrete worker. So I wasn't 100% sure what it was like to be a fighter. And now I'm 26. I'm getting older. Not really old, but I'm maturing as a fighter and a person. So I really just am appreciating the whole journey on top of everything. I really learned to believe in myself, my work ethic, and the people around me.
Nick, your opponent looks like a tough, nasty dude. Brandon Holmes, an undefeated fighter. And I will, be your agent for a little bit here. And I'll just tell everybody, we did not discuss this, but I'm speaking on your behalf here. You could have taken an easier fight, and you're choosing not to do that. You're choosing to fight a really tough guy. Tell me about this matchup. Tell me what made you sign on the dotted line to fight this guy, Brandon Holmes, because he looks like an animal. He looks like a really good guy, just like you.
Yeah, so he's a very solid striker, and I give him much respect. And I like the way he fights. He comes forward, and he's trying to cause chaos. And that's what really excites me. I feel like a lot of people in this game claim they like to fight. But when shit hits the fan, are you really about that, or are you going to fucking fall back on your back foot? So that just excites me that I know it's a tough fight. I never wanted to fight easy people. There were times I was talking to Arius and Dante might be like, give him this guy. I'm like, bro, I'm not fighting that guy. That does nothing for me. That doesn't excite me. I like being excited. I like fighting the tough guys. Like I was telling, I don't know if you know Jake. I was telling him in multiple interviews. My biggest fear is not getting to the UFC like a little bit later. My biggest fear is getting to that big stage in the UFC, stepping in the lion's den, and not being who I thought I was. So I want to be tested on the regional scene, be a veteran by the time I get to that UFC level. And I'm not here to win a few UFC fights. I'm here to take it all the way. I'm trying to change my life with that.
This guy that you're fighting, Holmes, in your opinion, like, what is he doing that makes him how is he winning all the time? How come nobody's figured out a way to hang an L on this guy? What is it about him that makes him a tough out?
I just think he comes forward. I'll give him that a lot of credit for him. He comes forward, and I think a lot of people don't like being in that fire zone. A lot of people claim to be about that fight life, but when shit hits the fan, are you going to sit there, are you going to throw, or are you going to fucking fade back? I feel like he breaks a lot of his opponents. I think that's where he gets the finishes. And I don't know, I just don't feel like, respectfully, he hasn't fought someone like me.
Mm-hmm.
I fought everyone on the regional scene, especially as an amateur, and as I'm coming up on the pro ranks, I still haven't had an easy fight. So I just feel like I have what's the word I'm looking for? The resume and the experience to get the job done.
Now, for a guy like Holmes, do you feel like outside of your experience, you took one of my presumed answers away. I thought you would say experience. You just did. But when I think of you, like, I think of submission, I think of jujitsu, I think of grappling. And are you of the opinion, like, you look at this and it's like, if you make this a complete MMA fight, and if you really test him in those areas, specifically where he hasn't maybe been tested really before, do you feel like that's like a huge advantage that you have over your opponent?
100%. So originally, everyone thought I was just a grappler because I was still so young. I didn't really trust in my hands yet. For the last I think since my last amateur fight, I don't think I've shot one takedown. So I think I'm really good everywhere. I'm a very balanced fighter, and I still feel like at this point in my career, I haven't put a full show together to show how good I really am. So I'm looking forward for that to come out this fight.
Well, I would be remiss to not ask you this question. For the fight itself, we're a couple weeks out, CFFC 134 in Atlantic City. For everyone that's buying a ticket, for everyone that'll be tuning in on UFC Fight Pass to watch you perform, what can they expect when they watch you share the cage with Brandon Holmes?
I think you could, first off, it's a stacked card as always. CFFC did a really good job. Like, if I wasn't fighting, I'd definitely be there watching. I'm definitely be watching after my fight. But I think it's definitely going to be a head-on collision. We're both very stubborn. We both like to come forward. So I think it's just going to be a violent fight. He thinks he's going to take my head off, and I think I'm going to take his head off. And the beautiful thing about fighting is one of us is right and one of us is wrong. So I'm super excited to see where this fight goes.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, he put it perfectly. Make sure you tune in August 16th and watch a very high level fight between two exciting middleweights. Nick, I'll give you the mic, whatever it is that you want to say. I know oftentimes that you guys have a lot of people that you need to thank, a lot of sponsors and other teammates that work with you behind the scenes to make these fights possible. So who do we need to shout out before I let you go?
I just want to say thank you to everyone that's supported me. Like, sometimes I have to remind myself that I fight not full time for a living, but for the most part, like, it's still like a dream. It's awesome to me, and like I think back and appreciate everything that everyone's ever done for me, all the advice. I'm just trying to be a sponge and take from everyone and learn everything. And thank you for all my sponsors and everything, all my teammates. Make sure to look out on that card. There's just a stack card, and don't look at just the Dante guys that have been around. We have a lot of guys up and coming that are gonna be on the scene a lot more than people realize. So definitely tune into everyone from Dante's. They're a bunch of killers, and I'm excited for everyone to get their fights in.
Well, there you have it, Nick. I appreciate your time, and I look forward to having you back on the show really, really soon.
All right. Thank you, brother. Have a good one.